The place where our spiritual practice, our spiritual life ends, and our family life or our social life or even our work life begins, that place that feels to many of us like a very thick line. Here's my needs over here. Here's my happiness over here. Here's your needs over there. And they're different. They're separate. Like, here's my spiritual path, there's my family. Here's my spiritual path, there's my work. The dilemma with these lines is they keep our life fragmented. And so the goal really is, how can I live in such a way, not that I become subservient to someone else's needs, not that I give up myself or my needs for someone, but that I re-understand what I need. So for example, if I look on a spiritual level, what I need is to be able to practice seeing the divine wherever I look. It's a huge spiritual challenge, but it's one of the most important aspects of a spiritual path, is the divine that we worship in our temples, in our mosques, in our gurdwaras, in our churches, in our synagogues, that divine lives in creation. The divine, the creator, has created the creation. In the Hindu tradition, we've got very, very specific teachings and tenets and mantras that remind us that the creation is divine. And that our challenge is to open this third eye that actually can see the divinity in all. So my two eyes, for example, when I look at you, see young, beautiful woman. Okay. Well, that's true. That's the form. That's the vehicle you're in. But the truth of who you are is divinity, consciousness, essence, love, energy, soul. So my highest need is to be able to practice that wherever I go. Another one of my highest needs is to figure out how to use my body, my time, in a way that A, benefits others, and B, enables me to bend my ego so that I can have deeper and deeper and more real spiritual experiences. The ego is the greatest barrier to my spiritual experience. And the ego is the one that says, I, mine, me, what about me, what about me, what about me? That's not how I want it. That's not what I want. That's the ego. And so it's a very interesting and delicate balance, because what the ego says is, here's the things I need. Here's the way I like it. There's what you need. We're going to do a balance. I'm going to sometimes do what I want. I'll sometimes do what you want. And while that may work for superficial level just relationship of making sure that we get along. It's not going to take me deeper spiritually, because what I'm allowing myself to do is to keep thinking that what I need is to fulfill the desires that I have, which are different than the desires that you have. So I like pizza, you like Chinese food. So half the time we go for pizza, half the time we go for Chinese food. Okay, everybody's mostly happy. Or at least happy 50% of the time. But that's not the highest goal. My highest goal is not about how much pizza can I eat or how much Chinese food can I eat, or it's about how can I experience the truth of who I am in every moment. Whether I'm eating pizza, whether I'm eating Chinese food, whether I'm fasting, whether I'm eating Mexican or Indian, it's irrelevant. Those preferences are preferences of my taste buds. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying thou shalt eat food that you hate or not eat food that you like. But when we're thinking about our lives and our priorities and balance in our life, we need to look deeper than balancing that which tickles my taste buds, literally, or that which feels good to my ego, or that which, what I really need is actually that which comes from within me. Because it's not so much what I'm doing as how I'm doing it. Wherever I am, I can see the divine in all, or I can practice seeing the divine in all. And that's my task. And so when you talk about balancing your needs and the needs of others, look really carefully at what your needs are and what other people are asking of you. And so, for example, if we're talking about pizza and Chinese food, well, okay, is it really worth the conflict? Because of course, being in peace is a much higher need and a much deeper value than getting the food I like to eat. You may get the food you want, but if you're not in peace, you're not going to be able to digest it anyway. If you have to fight to go to the restaurant you want, your body's not going to digest it anyway. If you've got to fight to go to the movie that you wanted to see, you're not going to enjoy it anyway. You're going to be sitting there knowing that, the minute this movie is over, you're going to be back in conflict. You're not going to be able to hold hands, and because you've had a fight. You've had to push somebody into doing this. So being in peace is a much higher need than what most of us think of as our needs. The real needs that we have, when you talk about really balancing, the real needs that you have are needs to be able to do a spiritual practice that enables you to stay grounded and anchored, to be able to move through the world in the way that is in the best for your spiritual growth, meaning to focus on seeing the divine in people, to focus on using your time and your ability to serve. And if what you've got is people trying to pull you out of that, that's where you have to start looking at having conversations about that. That's the stuff that I would say start to look at. But I think what you'll be able to find is that with a shift in focus, if you feel like you're the one giving in, you're the one, who always is giving in to other people's needs, that's going to make you feel badly inside. But without changing what you do, if you simply shift how you think about it, and what you think about it is that all of these times are more and more opportunities for you to actually focus spiritually. So for example, dinner's over. You're the one who gets stuck washing the dishes every night. Okay, maybe it's a family of 6 people and really everyone should take a day of the week. I mean, like, if we were just going to divvy up duties, that would be the fair way to do it. Nonetheless, you find yourself getting stuck every night. Well, there's 2 options. Option 1 is you fight about it, at which point you may get somebody else to do the dishes. But are you really going to enjoy those 10 or 15 minutes that you have of not doing the dishes, given the conflict that has just been created in your house over the fight about it? Or can you take those 10 or 15 minutes of doing the dishes every night and consider them part of your spiritual practice? And as you're doing them, instead of thinking, oh my God, I can't believe this, how did I get stuck in this stupid family, and why doesn't anybody care about me, and why doesn't anybody respect me, and why is it always me? Instead of that, can you marvel at the beautiful way that warm, soapy water feels, and how amazingly lucky we are to be in a place where, look, you turn on the tap and water comes right out? And how many women in other parts of the world are walking miles to a well or to a hand pump, or have to ration the water that they're cleaning dishes with from the water that they use to bathe in, or the water that they use to drink? Can you use those 10 or 15 minutes rather than sulking and feeling like, oh my God, and what else? I mean, it's only a few minutes. Maybe you would have seen a little bit of a TV serial, you would have talked to somebody on the phone, you would have gone on Facebook, really, would you have made such incredible use of those 10 or 15 minutes that it's worth conflict every night? Take the dishes as a spiritual practice. It's your meditation of warm sudsy water, right? We have a meditation of a mantra. We have a meditation of our image of the divine. And I also have a meditation of warm sudsy water. We have a beautiful example in our scriptures of a woman named Shabri, who was a poor village woman who was so devoted to God that literally one day he showed up on her doorstep. But she had spent her life sweeping, just sweeping, waiting for him to come. Her sweeping was her meditation. So rather than thinking, oh my God, why am I so poor, and why can't I have a maid, all those other people have maids, really I shouldn't be the one who has to sweep, or I've been sweeping every day, somebody else should come and sweep, because if God is coming, he's, come into the neighborhood, other houses should also help out. No. She swept and sang and swept and sang and swept and sang that Lord Ram's going to come, God's going to come. So whatever we do, that can become your meditation. And so I would suggest in general, how much you can see things that you have to do in life as a way of making them part of your spiritual path. Now, obviously, that doesn't include things that harm you. It doesn't include things that are against your value system. It just includes the little stuff that all of our lives are made of, that being in relationship, being in family, being in a workplace, being in a community. Everybody always feels like, oh, why do I have to do this? Why don't other people? Why me? This is universal. But if you can take those, and instead of seeing them as drudgery, see them as yet another opportunity for spiritual practice. And maybe sometimes it's spiritual practice with a broom, and sometimes it's spiritual practice in warm sudsy water, and sometimes it's spiritual practice over cooking, and whatever it may be. How can I make that, instead of something that keeps me from what I need, how can I find what I need through doing that? And lastly, we ensure that in our relationships, the things that really do matter to us, once we've pulled apart the stuff that really doesn't matter, but the things that really do matter to us, whether it's our spiritual practice, whether it's a creative outlet, whether it's time with other loved ones, that we have time for that. And that we make time for that. But that's gonna balance in different ways in different situations. But that's absolutely something that you will find the way to get that balance. And what you'll find also is it's a lot less time than you thought you needed if you can take the other things and allow them to just be part of your spiritual practice on earth, part of your practice with your eyes open, moving, yoga in action, meditation in action. And yeah, sometimes it involves doing things that we wouldn't ordinarily do for others. But that service itself is a very, very beautiful element of spiritual practice. Seva. That's what seva is. Karma yoga. Doesn't just mean, Saturday mornings at the battered women's shelter. It's anything that we are doing that's in service of someone, something outside of ourselves. And yeah, Saturday mornings at a battered women's shelter is a fantastic thing to do. But it's not the only thing you can do. And a lot of times the people who need things from us may be people in our family, they may be people in our community, they may be people in our workplace, people in our friend circle. And through that karma yoga, through that seva, that service outside of myself, I actually attain a very, very deep and beautiful spiritual experience. Because it enables you to connect with the other person in a completely different and beautiful way. Instead of thinking about doing it for them, as you're doing it, realize that you are them, that you're one, that it's not me doing this for you, but it's me seeing myself in you. So then it becomes an even deeper spiritual practice.